Yes, friends. So let's move to the next topic in the module 1, that is features of good research study and research process. We will see this in today's session, and ethics in research we would see it in the next video, with which we will be completing the module which is introduction to management research. So post module 1 we will have an assignment, a small assignment done from you, and I would also be giving a small test, an objective test based on whatever videos that has happened thus far. So you may refer to the videos and answer the test. That's how I will be framing the questions. So let's quickly get on to the features of a good research study. As you see, research study is not a random process. It is something that comes out in a most systematic, scientific, methodical and rigorous manner. Why do we say that? Just like how the education comes from kindergarten, then you go to your primary school, then you complete your high school, higher secondary, then pre-university, and then you take the collegiate. Now you are at the postgraduate. There is a systematic exploration of knowledge. There is a systematic availability of resources and time given to each one to get the knowledge into the system, right? If assume all the subjects were taught to you just in the 1 year, is it possible to grasp or assimilate all of it? Impossible. Therefore, anything that must be systematic, must be timely, must be scientific, and it must also have these as its features. So a good research study, as we discussed, is a systematic and scientific study. Systematic means it follows a sequence. There is a structure. There are specified steps, and each step must be completed before the next step is initiated or started. So that process, or what we call, must be followed. It cannot be, the procedure must be followed, and we cannot overlook it. If we are overlooking it, it is at our own cost, it is at our own peril. We overlook such things. And scientific means any research that is being done must be verifiable, must be testable, must be in a position to be validated. If, let us assume, someone is telling you about something and you are not sure whether it is right or wrong, immediately what you do is you verify, you ask others. There is some news that is going on, is it right? So what I have heard, have you also heard the same? I mean, can this happen? Like this, you keep verifying some facts. Even when this pandemic broke out, most of us were asking, no, is lockdown and all possible? Can it work? Can people all be at home? So many questions were there. But only as the experience goes, we get to know that, it is a serious affair and everybody must honor it and things like that. So we tend to verify it. That is called science. Science stands on verification. That's the reason science is predominantly performed in laboratories, and when it is successful in the laboratories, it is experimented outside in the natural settings or the physical world. Therefore, scientific process means it is something that is backed by data. Good research must be backed by data. Then it should be logical, should be guided by logical reasoning and logical process of induction and deduction. Logical again means it is a feature that goes strictly on something that is acceptable. It cannot be ad hoc, meaning some random procedure you cannot bring in. There is a procedure if you go to a hospital, in case you are having an ailment, they first check your temperature, as what is happening today, and then they check your blood pressure, they check any other symptoms, your eyes, your heartbeat, your pulse rate, etc. All the 5 vital signs they say in the medical world, they check all that, and if all these things are okay, Then they ask you, what is your problem? Then you explain your problems, right? So there is a logical, there is a check and balance to be followed. That is called logical process. So any good research must have a logical backing to it. It must have a logical backing. It cannot happen randomly, right? So you must have a question, and that question must be logical. So it should be, next point is, it should be empirical and replicable, must be related to one or more aspects of real life situation. As I told you, any scientific research is an empirical research, which means the science must be validated. So any procedure, if you call it as scientific, that procedure must be validated by data. The data must prove validation of the process or the procedure. So it must be empirical and it must be replicable in nature. For instance, you are trying to prepare a particular dish at home, and this dish or whatever you are preparing, let's say you are preparing some idlis. So you are having a procedure, and the same preparation, when you are putting it on the YouTube, these days so many people are viewing it, it's all on the Facebook, so many cookeries and culinary items are there. All others must be able to also replicate the procedure that you explained. It is not that only you are able to do it and others are not able to do it. It doesn't work that way, right? So that is very important. Lastly, it should be according to plan, which means there is a plan, a clear plan and a storyboard, what you are going to do in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So these are some of the essential features of a good research study. So quickly we will move to the research process. This research process we will be actually seeing in elaborate in the coming chapters, modules. Therefore, I will just try to highlight what are the points here, and with that we will conclude for today. See, the research process starts with theory identification. You have to identify a theory. Theory, for example, is you have many theories. Customer satisfaction theory, right? It's a satisfaction theory. Job satisfaction theory. And you have today, these days we are trying to accept technology as the way forward. There is a theory behind it which is called as technology acceptance theory, TAT, or technology acceptance model framework, right? Anyone is interested in understanding how the technology is being accepted, we must follow that. For instance, my research during my doctoral research PhD days were that I wanted to find out the acceptance of people in the banking, acceptance of technology by bankers essentially. This was about a few years ago, some 8, 9, 10 years ago. So to the new applications, apps that have been developed and how they are connected to the bank seamlessly. So whether the people in the bank, today they are familiar, but at that day, let's say 2010 and 11, they were little hesitant in accepting it, and there was a challenge in mindset, there was a resistance. So to study that, we have a theory that's called technology acceptance. We'll explain all that in the, so theory is essential. Next is the hypothesis. Hypothesis means a question. You should start any research with a question. Simply you can't start a research. You must ask a question. Why is it? And then the research follows. If you, let us say you are seeing some vague news in the channel and something they are talking of, let us say a big tsunami in Japan. Then you start the research. You ask, why does this tsunami keep happening year after year in places particularly like Japan? Why is it not happening anywhere else? Some questions arise in your mind, and the answer to the question you are trying to find, which is called research. Then any research must have a design, must have a template. We will discuss on what it is. And then that research must also have a backing of previous researches. See, one must always understand that you are not the very first person to do research in this planet. The research has started right from the days of Socrates. Socrates may have lived some 3,000 plus years or 2,000 plus years, I am not sure. But he is known as the first philosopher, right? Socrates' disciple was Plato, and then came Aristotle, and so on. Huge generation of bright, intelligent, and highly intellectual philosophers. So they thought about life, they thought about the world, they thought about so many aspects. So the review means already people are doing the research, and we are just participating. We are adding one more additional stone to the wall, which is so huge, like a China wall, let's say. So for a huge China wall, you are putting a small brick. That is what is your contribution, which means already the stones are boulders and stones and big bricks are existing in the wall, which you must study carefully. And that study is called literature review, what your predecessors have done. Next comes the method. How are you going to do it? Whether you are going to do an observation, whether you are going to do collection of data through a survey, or would you be doing an interview, or would you be analyzing, even trying to, let's say there is something, a Mann Ki Baat by the Prime Minister. Then I was curious, I was just, it was put on the Twitter. Then I was going through the comments. So many people have positive comments. At the same time, there are so many people who have different comments. I would not say adverse, but a different angle, a different perspective. So it is not that everybody carry a same opinion about anything. That is how it is. The world is designed where there is always an ironical opposites that keep operating. Therefore, so you must find a method how you are going to capture the data which is relevant to your research. Next comes the collection of data. On the field, how would you collect? These days, most of the data is being collected on the Google Forms and other things, safer, because right now the things are not so convenient that you can travel. Therefore, data collection, people generally avoid. Data analysis, very wonderful softwares, right from MS Excel, which has got a huge potential of statistical tools, which we will try to deal in the later part of our course. I will try to have a workshop on it online, and you could all attend. Free of cost, we are planning to do it. SPSS and so many other softwares, new emerging open source software platforms like R, Python. So all these things are some of the tools which we would be using for data analysis. Then comes the report writing, which means whatever you have found, whatever you have understood, and you have you have recorded, you must now be able to report it. See, while the recording happens in a very haphazard manner, because so many things you will be getting and so many papers and other things, but then all the huge chunk of data that you have collected, the huge literature that you have collected, meaning the study that you have done, you cannot simply throw everything into that other person's basket. He or she, whoever is getting into your research, will be overwhelmed. Therefore, like a mother bird which takes only that small things which the kids can digest and give, you must also understand the necessity of making a concise report to your audience, whoever be the audience. Depending on the audience, the research report will be either very simple, or if your audience are, let's say, investment bankers who would want to give you money, then it will be more meticulous, more sophisticated, more model based, more forecasting. If it is going to be someone on the academic field, it will be more scholarly. If it is going to be some general audience who would want to know something about the economy, for instance, then you will be sprinkling with a lot of common man examples, so that the people understand it and would be able to connect to your research better. So reporting is actually the last process, but it's most important and the most significant of the entire research process. That which is not well communicated is not communicated at all. You must keep this maxim in your mind and function in a way that the research process is robust, and your reporting finally gives the it is your address of the entire research process, how well you have done it, right? With that, we are completing these two topics: features of a good study, good research study, and research process.